Hi, my name is Maria and welcome to my channel MH Books, and today I'm going to try and film a book. I'm going to film a book. No, I'm going to film a video about the stats of the books I've read so far this year. As an accountant, at this stage of the year, we're at the end of quarter one, so 31st of March is the end of the quarter of the first year, and this is a very important quarter for stock prices of your listed company. So the first 3 months accounts are always like indicative of how you're going to go for the rest of the year if you're a business, and it's important so you can change where you're going if you notice you're going somewhere wrong. So I thought it might be fun to do this for books as well. Am I going in the right direction for my reading and all the rest? So the first things first, my reading goal, which a lot of people consider really important on Goodreads, is 80 books. So by the first quarter of the year I should have been at about 20 books. At the moment I'm at 27, so that would appear that I'm slightly ahead. Of those 27 books, I would want them to be more or less half and half of the genders. So at the moment I have 52% female. I'm looking down at my laptop, but I will put it here, so I'll look down there, you guys can look up there. And 48% male, and no non-binary authors at the moment. So more or less, the idea of reading 50-50, or it's not going to be 50-50 when you include non-binary, but authors, is I want to make sure that I don't concentrate exclusively or too much on female only, because I like to write stories myself. And if you've ever read a male author and they get the female character wrong, you said, like, have you never written a book by a woman with a female character in it? So I don't want to have the same problem myself. If I write male characters as somebody who identifies as female, I would like them as much as possible, at least to have read a male author's male characters too, as much as possible, to make them sound authentic. Now, this is talking like I can, I'm a fabulous writer or anything like that. I'm not. Just, if you're going to do something, you might as well work at it and get it as good as you can. But I'm a totally crappy writer. Okay. Nationality. This was interesting. I would have thought that I was having quite a good mix of nationalities for the year, that I wasn't exclusively picking from the British and the American authors, but nearly half my authors that I read this year are American. Now, for this chart, it's important to say that if I read an author more than once, they're counted more than once in this. So so Stephen King has about 5 or 6 books in this selection, so he's 5 or 6 of the Americans on this. So yeah, nearly half of my books were American, from American authors. I deliberately decided to break up the British Isles into England, Scotland, Wales, and Northern Ireland. I count as Ireland. Okay, there's no, politics are not what I was doing. So I'm saying the main island of Britain, England, Wales and Scotland, I've decided to split them. So English authors would be the next biggest, then followed by Irish authors. I think I've only read about 3 Irish authors, which is about 1 a month, which is what I plan to do. But for Irish authors, again, nationality is really difficult because most people have more than 1 nationality. For Irish authors, my rule is they've lived in Ireland long enough to identify as being Irish, I take the island of Ireland and call that Irish, rather than saying there's Northern Irish, which is part of British. See, it gets very complicated on these islands. So just so the rules are straight. Genre. Now, I split genre twice. So I decided I would pick the top genres from Goodreads. So whatever it says good, because most of the books I read to be multi-genres. I'm trying to think, there's none down there. There should be one down there. Here's a book. So something like Himself, which I read last year, could be considered magical realism, or could be considered detective or maybe mystery. So I picked whatever Goodreads said was the most classified genre, just as a way of classifying what things were. So when you look at genre only, okay, just say I'm not considering for this classification, literary fiction is not a genre for this. So if you consider genre only, the majority of books either fall into the historical fiction or the horror genres. Not surprising, the majority of the books you see there are horror. Then we have quite a few thrillers, and then you know, the odd bit here and there from fantasy, sci-fi, noir, contemporary, and African. I'm not sure I agree with this as a genre, as being a genre classification. I think that book I would probably consider more historical fiction, but as I said, I was going for whatever Goodreads said the genre was. So yeah, so horror and historical fiction seems to be the stuff that I've been reading this year. So before I go on to the next one, how did I like my reading so far this year? Usually, and this year has been typical, I actually have quite a lot of 4s and 5 stars. I like a lot different types of fiction. I genuinely love that. And if I feel something's a 4 or 5, it gets a 4 or 5, whether it has a literary merits or not. That's just the way I roll. I had 1 DNF this year so far out of the 27, and it is included in the 27. And that was Sugar Baby. It's here. Where is Sugar? Baby Teeth. Sugar Baby. Baby Teeth. That has a picture of a lollipop up the front. DNF'd it. The character's totally unrealistic. And I wasn't going to go ahead with that. I think it was after about 100 pages. So out of the 27, I actually only completed 26, to be fair. Okay. So the other way, I have split them here into it's not here yet because I haven't edited this yet, into what I consider and this one is my judgment call, literary and narrative. So by literary, I mean I wouldn't be surprised to see one of these books, and a lot of them actually have appeared on prize lists. And narratives are ones that I'm more likely to see somebody reading by a pool or on holidays or in a train station or something, which are more story driven. So it's about 50-50, slightly towards the narrative, probably pushed by Mr. King's reread. I think, by the way, that some of the literary fiction would have good narrative too. So I mean, this is just a very loose judgment call. Some of the narrative fiction has an important place in books as far as I'm concerned, and that stories are important. And these books I consider have good stories and are driven towards their stories, and you want to find out what happens next. Where literary would probably be more keeping you in the scene, maybe in the prose, maybe in the characters. It's a very loose category. And you can, appreciate how well, in some cases, they were written. Okay, book length. Now, I may be up on my Goodreads challenge for the number of books, but I actually, compared to last year, and the number of pages I read, and last year I read quite a few long books, and this year we're tending towards shorter books. So the majority of the books are between the 200, 300, 300 and 400 category. So 9 between 200 and 300 pages, and 10 between 300 and 400. They're quite short books to me. This is probably me reading a slightly more literary fiction than normal, and not reading the horror genre, aka Stephen King long novels, and the fantasy genres, which tend to the longer, more epic novels. So yeah, there's less pages read so far this year compared to last year. I should do a comparison of years. That's what an accountant would do. They go, in 2018 we had 300,000 units sold by this time, but we only have 250,000 units sold now. Ooh, we just happened to increase the price so it looked better in our accounts. Yeah, that kind of thing. Not only in a strange voice though. So that would mean, so this, the whole point of this is to look at what you're doing and kind of like, well, I'm going to have to pick up a few more of these longer books at some stage this year. So I'm going to have to do a little push towards serious selection of my TBR until the end of April. But I might have to do a little push and get Siri, because I think I'm going to get Siri to select most of my books this year and push her towards some of the longer ones. So I might just reduce my selection to longer books, anything over 500 pages or something, and make her select from that. Okay. Library. The library was a new thing, really big thing this year. I have been using the library a lot, which is a good thing, except I have 561, as the count is today, of books on these shelves which I haven't read yet, which I own. So I'm going to have to cut down on the library a little bit. I have 8 books on order. Let me see. Oh no, I have 8 books out. Yeah, I've got 8 books in order at the moment as well. And I am allowed to withdraw 12 at a time. So I'm going to have to read some books if they all come in at the same time. So, going to have to watch the library a little bit and push. This is the idea of getting Siri to select books, to push books. Another reason that will come up in two different slides as to why I need Siri to select some books for me and to stop reading quite so much by whim. Okay, format. The format of the books. Oh, sorry, so the library, yeah, was more. There's more library than out. Okay, the format of the books. Okay, this includes the library books. Is more than 1/3 audio. And audiobooks I've been listening to while doing housework. So good for me, I did some housework. And while I'm falling asleep, I set it on timer. The amount of times I've set a book to 15 minutes on the timer and had to rewind it the next day for 14.5 minutes because I fell asleep after 30 seconds. It's hilarious. The majority are in paperback. These are books I can carry with me, whether they're a library book or a owned book, and read on the bus. So reading on the bus is a big part of where I can read. And hardback books are books that I read at home. Hardback books I think are gorgeous. They're objects for me. So I love some of the books I own. So this is I think this is probably a first edition of a Stephen King. I just think hardbacks are gorgeous, but practically I'm not reading them, so it's just as well I actually own a hell of a lot more paperback books than I do hardback books. Not only because I'm buying them new, this is bought from a charity shop and paperbacks are cheaper, but when I'm buying books I have to remember I'm not actually getting through the hardback books if I want to read hardbacks. So this is why you do Q1 accounts, by the way. People who think accountancy is magic or that people are making big in-depth decisions, they're literally doing things like this. They're working out, well, hard books aren't moving, so maybe we concentrate on the paperback books. So I'm actually buying okay, which is good. Lovely copy of Evil Things there as well. I actually had that in paperback and hardback now because I couldn't resist the hardback cover. So yeah. Okay. The year of my books. Nearly all my books at the moment were either this year or last year. So 12 out of the 27 are actually this year's or last year's books. That's a result of me reading Goodreads, chatting on Goodreads and taking part of BookTube. Reading current stuff, looking at the women's list, looking at the Man Booker list, you're looking at the books that are just released all the time. And what I wanted to do at the beginning of the year was push this graph, which you have there. Let me see if you have it there. I'm going to push it slightly more there. I want to read some older books. Some books that are less known. And so that's something I'm going to have to concentrate towards the end of the year as well. So again, rather than say just, maybe I'll rig a series list where it's everything over 500. But then maybe I'll also rig a series list where everything is published before 2000 and get her to select from that. By the way, Siri on my computer is female. She can be male sometimes. She is flexible with her identity, gender identities. Yeah, I think that's my stats. Yeah. So now I don't actually know what to say at the end of this video. Okay. I still don't know what to say. If you're a numbers nerd like me, you probably enjoyed it. I do know I always enjoy watching the stats videos of Amy and Zoe Beck. I will actually link her channel down below. She does it far better. She has her proper bullet journals and all sorts of ways of measuring. She also has stricter rules than me, and she won't count rereads, and she shows the number of pages she read every day. And it's really, and she does every month. So she's far more dedicated to this, but I actually really do enjoy her. So yeah, so whatever you're reading, whether it counts to your stats or not, I hope you're enjoying it. If you'd like to subscribe or to comment down below, please do. I always enjoy the comments. But meanwhile, I hope whatever you're reading, you're enjoying it. Bye.